Now, let's take a look at the advantages of centralization and decentralization. Centralization and decentralization. More centralization involves an environment which is stable. The lower level managers are not as capable or experienced at making decisions as the upper level managers. The lower level managers do not want to have a say in the decisions. Decisions are significant. The organization is facing a crisis or the risk of company failure. Company is large. Effective implementation of company strategies depends on the managers retaining say over what happens. Let's take a look at more decentralization. Here the environment is complex, uncertain. The lower level managers are capable and experienced at making decisions. The managers want a voice in the decisions. Decisions are relatively minor. Corporate culture is open to allowing the managers to have a say in what happens. The company is geographically dispersed. Effective implementation of the company's strategies depends on the managers having involvement and flexibility to make the decisions. The structure of centralization and decentralization. Here is a decentralized approach, bottom to top approach. Centralized approach, top to bottom approach. Level 1, Level 2, Level 3 and Level 4. Here are the advantages decentralization over centralization. Reduction in the burden of the chief executive who has to bear the entire burden of decision making in centralization. Decentralization of authority reduces his burden as he delegated a part of his authority to the subordinates and thus enabling him to focus on other important functions. With the addition of new activities or product lines, an organization tends to grow complex and may pose a challenge to the top executives, which can be met by decentralization under the overall coordinating preview of the top management. Decentralization avoids red tapeism in making decisions as it places responsibility for decision making as near as possible to the place where action takes place. When authority is decentralized, the subordinates get the opportunities of taking initiative to develop managerial talents. Decentralization promotes the improvement of morale and motivation of subordinates, which is reflected in better work performance. The greater the degree of decentralization, the more effective becomes the span of control. It leads to effective supervision as the managers at the lower levels have complete authority to make changes in work assignment, to change production schedules, to recommend promotions, and to take disciplinary actions. In addition to the above advantages, decentralization also achieves several internal and external economies. Internal economies include speedier communication, better utilization of lower level and middle level executives, greater incentive to work, and greater opportunities for training. The advantages of centralization over decentralization. Singular point of control, which helps make bigger decisions easier as the top level managers have a better picture of the organization as a whole and are better equipped to make important decisions as compared to a lower level manager. The implementation of an idea, process, or policies is easier in a company that has a strong central direction as compared to a decentralized organization. Due to a single vision of the head of the company, the organization can work towards a single goal, which would not be possible in a decentralized organization due to individual manager goals. Centralization allows corporate decision makers respond better and faster in urgent situations which require quick decisions. Other advantages of decentralization. Let's take a look. Relieves top management of some burden of decision-making and forces upper-level managers to let go. Encourages decision-making and assumption of authority and responsibility. Gives the managers more freedom and independence in decision-making. Promotes establishment and use of broad controls which may increase motivation. Makes comparison of performance of different organization units possible. Facilitates setting up of profit centers. Facilitates production diversification. Promotes development of general managers. Aids in adaptation of fast-changing environment. Now let's take a look at the disadvantages of decentralization. Makes it more difficult to have a uniform policy, increases the complexity of coordination of decentralized organization units, may result in loss of some control by the upper level managers, may be limited by inadequate control techniques, may be constrained by inadequate planning and control system, can be limited by the availability of qualified managers, involves considerable expenses for training managers, may be limited by the external forces, may not be favored by economies of scale of some operations.